Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
Warning. The following podcast may occasionally contain strong language and material that is not suitable for all ages. If you are easily offended, it is highly advised that you turn back now. However, if you're a degenerate, welcome, brethren. You've found your home.
Welcome to the Crime Diner. We are a Jersey podcast, and on the menu is a variety of true crime, cults, mysteries, historical hilarities, and sometimes victim stories. We do this within a dinner with friends theme. I'm Nydia.
I'm Dana.
I'm Cindy.
Last week, we talked with Brenda of horrifying history, and we did a charcuterie of historical hilarities.
Yes, we did.
They weren't that funny.
Some were funny.
Hers was funny.
Hers was pretty funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ours were gruesome.
Well, yours was Tootsie Rolls. That was fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were historical hilarities. I'm going to
Yeah.
own that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
own it. You did a great job.
Yeah, this week?
I'm not sure if you're aware,
Uh-huh.
but...
I'm not aware of anything.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to break your heart.
Okay.
Everything is bad.
Oh, I mean, I've been knowing
The
that,
world
yes.
is so bad. Like all the time. Always.
Oh.
And I hate it.
Oh.
And sometimes it feels like you're just one person and there isn't like a whole lot that you can do to like make a change or make a difference, right?
That's right.
But one of the things that always helps me remember that sometimes it's just the little things that help turn the tide. And that's those little stories of people who resisted the Nazis during World War II.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror.
That's true. That too.
Okay.
There's a close second.
Yeah.
Close second.
All right.
Fair. But there's just all of these little pockets of resistance all
yeah.
over Europe and all over the place.
I love those.
And they just make you feel good.
Yes.
So tonight, I'm going to tell you the story of two people who used what they knew and made a little bit of a difference.
Oh, okay.
All right?
All right, I'm here for
All
it.
right.
But first, the food. Let us pray. Bless us, O patrons, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy donations through Patreon every month under the power of the V podcast.
Cult.
Oh.
Oh,
This is like
there's a river. There's an island of mashed potatoes.
A chicken dish of some sort. Mm-hmm. A chicken. And
Is there? Ooh, is that mushrooms?
Carrots.
Oh, I like. Mm-hmm. Is there herbs in those mushrooms? I mean, in those mashed potatoes?
Herbs and spices.
There's flavor.
Okay.
As usual.
All right. Okay.
I have made you coq-au-vin.
Oh, that sounds
French. Oui, oui.
It's
oui,
French.
oui.
And the bread that you see on there is homemade French baguette and mashed potatoes.
Oui,
my
oui.
goodness.
So a
That's
coq-au-vin is basically a chicken stew or a rooster. Coq is rooster in wine. It's basically like a braised chicken.
I'm about to tear this up.
La toilette.
You're an idiot. A souffle?
Le fromage.
Not a souffle.
Not a souffle.
What is it?
It's that one I did not practice.
Avec moi, ce soir.
I made a classic French chocolate pâte de creme.
Oh, my croissant.
So that's what I
Wait
made.
for the creme.
So that's what this is.
Oh my god.
She made the gray stuff. It's delicious.
Don't believe me.
I asked the dishes. Oh, I love it.
And what are we drinking?
What are we drinking, Nitty?
Bordeaux? I don't know.
Of course it is Bordeaux.
Oh my
because
God.
Bordeaux is
Okay.
made in France and it has to be made in that Bordeaux district.
Okay, so we are having Chateau de Bordeaux. And it's La Trique.
La Trique Royale.
Royale. Yes, it is a Bordeaux Superior.
You know, I packed my glass full of ice and I love it.
Well, I don't
I
have
feel
ice
good
in
about
it,
it.
and I love it.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Well,
Ask the dishes.
before we came downstairs, I said to Dana, "It's like you might as well grab ice now. Grab ice
Yeah,
now."
I'm glad you did.
It is.
because I know a Bordeaux is dry.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is dry. It is dry.
I dig it. I'm going to drink mine.
Yes. All right. The food.
Let's go.
Yeah. The chicken, when you like walked away or something, I was telling Cindy that, Puerto Ricans have been making that for years.
Yeah, so chicken stew of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, it was great, but like familiar,
Good.
But the dessert, oh my God.
Yeah.
Clutch my pearls.
The dessert was so, it was like a mousse.
It was
like
decadent.
a little moussey with a whipping cream, and she shaved some chocolate, and there was berries.
The raspberries. Oh my God.
I will say about the chicken that it like fell off the bone.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna need to pick this up, so everyone look away.
She picked it up with her mouth.
Yeah. It was so good.
I literally sat that chicken overnight in red wine.
Oh, delicious.
It was delightful.
It was really, really tasty.
Yes.
And so was dessert.
Oh my God, dessert. I could bathe. I feel like that dessert on my face.
It was rich, but it wasn't like super duper sweet. It was like the perfect dessert.
Yeah.
Had I not, literally just eaten dinner, I would have had 3 of them, because it was the perfect amount of sweetness.
Oh,
I could have had a couple more berries just to like,
yes.
If I would have had a couple more berries, I wouldn't have been able to stop, because it would have just like broke through of like, I had to put half of it away because I've been having indigestion.
Yeah.
Because I'm 40 soon. And my body's like, die, bitch. Die now.
Time to end it all.
Yeah. I went over to my grandmother's house.
Cindy's dog is just like...
ignore
sorry.
Her.
Yeah.
I went over to my grandmother's house. I try to go there like once a month, or I was going every week, but, once a month because...
Right.
My pop-up has dementia, and she just needs someone to hang out with that's, whatever. And so I tell her, I'm like, oh my God, I've been having such heartburn, and I'm, doing this and doing that, whatever. I was talking to her about it. She's like, I'm going to give you this Alka-Seltzer. And I'm like, no, I don't need your Alka-Seltzer. No. She gets her Ziploc bag out. Uh-huh. She puts a bunch of Alka-Seltzer in there. These little like chew tab Alka-Seltzers. And she's like, just eat one of those. Just keep it right by your bedside. And when you wake up in the middle of the night, because I've been waking up repeatedly in the middle of the night with really bad acid reflux. Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's upsetting.
Right.
I'm like, it's very upsetting. So, I have my little Alka-Seltzer sitting in my little Ziploc bag. It's very annoying. But I've been trying to...
Did you eat it? Did it help?
I've been doing some things with my diet.
Okay.
I go through these cycles where I don't eat any fast food. I, do pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I just eat nothing but
fast
Dunkin' in the morning and this and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I have not been doing that. And I've been packing my lunch and being mindful about cooking at home, and it's been better. Just in changing that.
Go figure. I want to lose weight, but I don't want to diet or exercise.
Yeah. I don't care about losing weight. I don't want to be feeling like shit.
Yes.
That's what I don't want to feel like shit.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
As a kid, I used to drink Alka-Seltzers like it was like water. Like it was like a soft drink.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Like I would make myself Alka-Seltzer drinks and just drink that like as a juice. Like
my dad always had Rolaids on his bedside thing, on the top of his bed. And he would always be like, go get me 2 Rolaids. And he had this whole thing of like red cherry Rolaids. Uh-huh. And I would always get him 2, and I would always eat one. Because I just like the way they tasted. And I was living with him a couple of years ago when I got divorced. And he was like, can you go grab me some Rolaids? Like, when you were a little kid. And I told him, I'm like, I
used to sneak one.
He's like, motherfucker. He's like, for years I would be like, it should always end in 2 because there's 2. And I eat 2 every time. And it never ends in an even number. He's like, that drove me crazy for years. Like, his ass is writing letters to the
Rolaids company. There's the wrong amount of Rolaids in here.
It's like every bottle is wrong.
How many people got fired at Rolaids?
It made me laugh so much. I'm like, I just love the way they smelled when I would dump them out so I'd eat one.
Mr. Levin keeps saying that there's no Rolaids in his thing. Anyway, listen. I used to drink it like it was a soft drink.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, every day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I want like pop, pop, fizz, fizz. Like,
Have you ever had it though? Don't knock it till you try it.
Do you like the taste of it?
I haven't had it since I was a little kid, but I'm just like, it must have tasted good for me to like it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
weird, but maybe that's why I don't have like acid reflux now.
Yeah, you like coated your childlike stomach as it was growing. I've been drinking shots of apple cider vinegar, and I'm like, I don't like it, right? But I'm like, I think it's. I think it's helping. And I took my little shot this morning, and I'm like, burn up my acid stomach, like neutralize my stomach acids, please. Like, just get in there and fucking.
But how does it neutralize your stomach acids if it's so acidy itself?
I don't know. Don't like. You know what I'm saying? Two negatives cancel, make a positive.
Maybe I don't know
anything about science, bitch. I just googled it, and they were like, take this much apple cider vinegar. I'm like, you got it.
Oh my God.
I'll do it if the Google says to.
You know, once you get to a certain age, once you get over that threshold, you start to like take like medicine just looks different. You know what I mean? You're just like, okay, I need this supplement. I didn't know supplements were going to be so important in my life at this point.
I will say that last weekend we did mushrooms, right? I wasn't going to talk about it, but now this sort of has made... And I haven't done them in 20 years,
right,
you know?
Okay.
And so I was a little nervous, whatever. My friends have been, eating them like candy on the weekends. And I'm like, we don't have kids anymore. Like,
right.
Whatever.
Why not? We don't need this brain.
Yeah, right? So my friend is a year older than me. Over the course of the week before I ate the mushrooms, I had been up in the attic and I was looking at pictures because my son was asking me for pictures of just stuff from when he was a kid. And so I had them out. And so she brought something up when we were like sitting at the table about like, oh, when we were teenagers, we did this, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, speaking of which. And I pulled out like a photo album from when we were 16 and we had already eaten the mushrooms. And so we're looking at these pictures of us from 25 years ago.
Right.
And there's pictures of her and her husband who were dating since they were in juniors in high school. Young. Yeah. And they looked, and so we, of course, we were making fun. I'm like, that kid got her pregnant. Like, look at that scrawny, like, whatever. And we were making fun of them. It's so funny, haha. And she just starts, like, kind of crying.
Really?
Yeah, she was like, oh my God. She was just like, but we're 40 now. Like, she was like saying all these things about like why like life has passed us by and the kids, and she kept being like, and they don't understand. I had an episiotomy because of those motherfuckers. And it was she was laughing but crying, and I was laughing, so I could not stop fucking laughing because she wouldn't let it go that like her life is over essentially, right, and she's dying, and basically there's nothing left to live for.
Nothing.
And she's anyway, it was making me laugh so fucking hard because she was saying shit that you're like, it's true, right? But it's like not, because you're being very dramatic,
right?
But like I guess the mushroom made it like 1,000 times funnier to me. And I just like kept fucking laughing at her.
Oh, that's so sad.
And that couch that I hate, that I still have, I did.
You made peace with it?
Well, I was sitting on it. And, after everybody left.
As one does.
Yeah. Well, I don't really sit on it that much. Okay. I do, but I don't like it because it's not comfortable and it's ugly. I hate the way it feels.
It's not comfortable?
It's just the cushions are just, I just don't like it.
Listen, if a couch is ugly and uncomfortable,
I just don't like the couch.
That bitch has to go.
But I had eaten my whole chocolate bar, whatever. Not the whole thing, but I had eaten what I was going to eat.
Right. Oh, and it's got, what is it, a chocolate psilocybin thing?
Yeah. Like a chocolate bar, yeah.
Right.
And so I was sitting on the couch and I was sitting on my hands and I was sitting with my feet on the ground and I was like, just so you know, this is the first couch that I've ever been able to sit on where my feet touch the ground all the way. This is a good fucking couch. And I was just sitting there just like melting into this couch. I was like, all right, I like this couch, I guess. Like, you could stay for a couple more months.
And your feet all touching the ground fully.
Yeah, my whole feet touch the ground and my butt sits all the way back into it. It's because it's too low to the ground.
Right.
A person my height, normally, I've never in my life sat all the way back on a couch and my feet still touch the ground. This one, my feet touch the ground, like, and my knees come up a little bit. I'm like, where did this couch come from? Fucking Hobbit land? Like, what the fuck? It's so short.
Maybe it doesn't have its legs. It's supposed to have feet.
I don't know, dude. I don't know. The couch. I don't know what to tell you about the couch. We did come to an understanding this weekend.
What? Oh, yeah, you and the couch. You made peace with it. I
made peace with the couch.
Yeah. Some people have to go to Peru for ayahuasca to make peace with their couch. You just did it right there
I
at
had
home.
Mushrooms and a chocolate bar and
made peace with your couch.
thunderstorm. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Speaking of couches, your friend had some strange news, your coworker.
What does that have to do with couches?
About her bones? I'm just saying. I always make a segue.
She was attempting a segue that was never gonna happen.
So you did an episode like 2 weeks ago about the bone guy that was selling cadaver bones.
Yeah.
And Tammy, who listens to
Stolen
this podcast,
cadaver bones.
She listens to this podcast faithfully every week.
Oh, I love her for it. Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah. I work with her, and she immediately, next day, she goes, I have one of those bones in my body. And I'm like, well, of course, I'm like, what the fuck bone are you talking about? I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. And she's like, the bone from your podcast.
That's
and
jarring. Like, what fucking bone do you have in your body?
And then, so she tells me that years ago when her kids were smaller.
Right.
So she was like a grown-up.
Right.
She was roller skating, and she fell and broke her neck.
Oh, my God. No, that's the worst kind of injury.
Yes. And so, I guess she was saying 2 of her vertebrae.
Okay.
But when she points to it through her throat. So I thought she was talking about her clavicle at first, but she was saying, no, her spine. You know?
Right.
And so if you don't use cadaver bone, if you use plastic or something like that, they have to put you in the halo.
Oh, God.
To stabilize it into your body, whatever. So she gets this cadaver bone. And she, for like a year or something, year and some months, 2 years, I don't know, has really bad, severe allergic reactions. Like, has to carry an EpiPen.
Wow.
She doesn't know what she's allergic to all of a sudden. Like, very, very bad, like, throat closing up, like, the whole bit.
Wow.
And they traced it back to these bones that potentially came from that doctor in New York.
No.
That weren't cleaned properly.
What the actual fuck?
And she said they didn't have any proof that was from him.
Right,
or
because he burned all the freaking evidence.
Or she would have been in this, like, giant class action lawsuit because of it.
Oh, my God.
But yeah, she, like, her doctors are like, probably it was him.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
Bro.
She was like, girl, I have one of those bones in my body. And I'm like, what?
Oh, my God. The things we uncover, you know?
She's like, I've been talking about that for years. I'm like, I did not know this.
Right.
And then I was looking at the Instagram pictures that Cindy posted for that episode, and I was like horrified. And they weren't even that, I mean, they weren't.
Right. Did you see the x-rays with the PVC
X-ray,
pipes?
Horrifying.
Isn't that insane?
That's horrifying.
It's like ghoulish.
I hate
it's so gross.
Yeah, it was really gross.
I don't know, man. Like, you know, especially if you've seen somebody in a casket, like, you're like, oof.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want that. Dude, you know, everybody, I'm going to say it here again. This is going to act as my last will and testament.
Okay.
I want to be buried where my body's going to decompose.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of burial I want. I don't know how I feel about it, but I want a burial where my body will decompose and become part of the ground.
So Cindy tagged me or sent me a TikTok. There's this company, reasonably priced too.
Really?
Where they take your body and they put it in this machine and they put bugs in there and they let them.
Oh, I don't know about bugs. I don't know if it's
bugs or like whatever, but it decomposes your body.
Right.
And then you can take that and then plant it in the earth or whatever. And it
is it where they make soil compost out of you?
Basically, you become compost.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So you're like back to the earth.
Right.
Like actually.
Yeah.
Back to the earth. And it's like not like expensive. It's for like the everyday person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who can like afford it. Because, you know, I want to be in one of those pods where you can plant a tree.
Yes.
But like it's thousands
super,
and thousands of dollars.
It's super expensive.
Which I would never like ask my family to do that.
And funerals already are at 10,000 plus.
Yeah.
So, and
this
you're
is like
saying
minimum,
this is even
like,
more than 10,000 plus. So
yeah, this is like the bare minimum. It's reasonable.
Yeah, my dad's funeral was freaking like to fly him to Puerto Rico to be buried in the and that's with a veteran burial. You know what I mean? That you don't have to pay for the plot and things like that. It was an insane amount. Like the plane ticket for him to be buried for him to be taken there as like a shipment because really he was just in a box under the plane. Was over $2,000.
Really?
Yeah, just that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
A lot of times, depending on where you're going, they charge per state that you're flying over.
It's
for
insane.
flying
Are
a
you kidding
cadaver
me?
over certain states. Yeah.
We have to burn this whole place down. I can't.
Listen,
I'm so done with this.
It's a lot.
That's upsetting.
Yeah.
That's taking advantage. That's that's upsetting.
But you know what? Thank your lucky stars that you haven't had to plan a funeral for somebody, because they will take advantage of you every step of the way.
And then there's this ghoul stealing your family members.
Stealing his freaking, stealing their freaking bones and shit. Is that crazy or what?
That's horrifying.
Ugh.
And I tell Danny all the time, just throw me in the backyard, let me decompose. It's fine.
She'll go to jail for that.
Fine.
I know. She'll literally go to jail for
Keep
that.
collecting the Social Security.
It is so
I don't
fun.
care.
I want to be sprinkled at Disney. I just do. I want to be sprinkled at Disney, but that is so against the law.
Yeah.
That is so. Natalie, I'm like, you know what? Just put the sand in your pants and just shake me out.
Just roll it up, cuffed up.
So just shake me out. I don't know.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, but I want to go back to the ground.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I saw a TikTok.
It always goes back to TikTok.
I know.
For us.
I saw a TikTok and I have not stopped thinking about it. If you died, you can come back for 5 minutes, but you can't see anybody that you know because it would traumatize them.
Okay.
Meaning you could go somewhere for 5 minutes.
Right.
Where would you go? What would you do?
I could go.
The last thing you could ever do
is
on
ghost
Earth.
see?
No, like, you could go do something. Like, I have thought a lot about it. And I think what I would like to do for 5 minutes, the most peaceful thing I can think of,
Right.
is to, at sunset, on a warm day with a breeze, lay in a hammock by the beach.
Oh my God.
For 5 minutes.
Yes, queen.
That's what I think.
But I can do that now.
Right, but I'm just saying,
wait till I'm dead.
The question is, what is the last thing, if you could do have one last thing, sensation happen to you before you leave this, what would it be?
I think mine is similar
or experience, or whatever.
Mine is similar to Dana's, is kind of like a beach chair right at the edge of the water. On the beach, and just touching as the beach just flows onto me.
Yeah.
Really?
As the sunset's going. Yeah, it's just the feeling that you get when you
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I want to know what that feeling is that you're thinking of.
peacefulness, and just as the sun goes, you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just peace.
How about a fucking earth-shattering orgasm?
Of course.
Just like a fucking, like waves. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Where you're just
if that happened.
You know, like one of those for 5 minutes.
For 5 whole minutes?
For 5 whole minutes.
That's the last sensation you want to feel?
Oh, girl, yes.
All right, okay.
And then just croak at the end of it.
Fair enough.
That right there.
All right, well, I have another one, but I'll ask it on Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You have a story for us.
I do. Do you want to hear about it?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, I want to hear about your friend's haunted bones.
Okay.
I want to know.
Told her, as soon as she started saying it, I was like, you know you're coming on the podcast,
I
right?
want to know if she had dreams that weren't hers.
Right.
I want to know.
She had allergies that weren't hers, so that's
right.
enough.
I want to know some shit.
I don't know. We can ask her.
Damn it. I want to know if she commits a crime, is she going to have some other people's DNA in her?
I don't know. But I just don't, what I was saying to her, like, why don't you just, not now, because this was like back 20 years ago or whatever. Why don't they just now, of course, print
3D print bones for her?
bones. Not for her, but I'm just saying in general. Like, don't you think, like,
because your body would reject it.
Why? Make a thing.
Your body would reject anything that's not normal in your body.
People put metal in their bodies all the time.
Yeah, but your immune system tries to fight it, and you have to take like immunosuppressant drugs and stuff.
I don't know. Seems weird to.
And it doesn't like fuse
to your
bone, right? But it doesn't fuse. Like she needed neck bones because like it wouldn't fuse. You know what I mean? It needs to fuse.
But I mean, people get.
That's why she would need a halo to hold her head. You know?
I guess, yeah. Well, not forever, just until it heals.
I don't know, man. Like. I don't know, people, right? Your body doesn't reject breast implants, so what's up with that?
Right. Like, there's got to be, like, technology now where we're not, like, risking having someone, like, fucking steal corpses and shit.
I'm ready for bionic body.
Right.
So.
Honestly, I don't doubt that they 3D print stuff. However, it's probably the specific bone, the specific area, the specific stuff
because,
that
like,
they need.
You were saying...
Also, it all depends on the allergy of the person. It's probably more expensive to 3D print of something with the surgical materials that they need to do so that your body doesn't reject it.
Yeah, maybe.
My school's science club made a mechanical hand for a woman in the Philippines and sent it to her. And we have like 3D printing machines and stuff like that. Yeah. We have like the state of the art. Like, believe it or not, my school, my little crappy school, has like the best of the best. And we have like state of the art, like 3D printers.
That's what I'm saying. Like where Cindy was talking about last week, or when we recorded that episode, that there was a bone that someone got in their femur and it wasn't the right size. Right. So they were like limping for the rest of their life. Like, you would think that would make it more accurate, you know, if they could find a way.
The reason that she had the cadaver bone was because the metal that they put in there
didn't work.
Right. So she needed the cadaver bone because that was a better fit as far as for her body.
I don't know.
You're not?
I'm not a doctor, in fact. I just have a lot of ideas behind a microphone.
I don't know, man. I don't want ghosts in my blood.
Yeah.
Because then I'd have to do cocaine about it.
That's right. Nobody's mad at that.
Right. So tell me your story.
Yeah, let me tell you about it.
Autumn's Oddities is a strange and unusual podcast made by the strange and unusual, me, Autumn Gruby. Each week, I'll be taking you through some of the creepiest cases true crime has to offer. It won't only be true crime, I'll also be covering cryptids, haunted places, haunted things, and the true stories that inspired horror movies. Listen every Monday and Friday for new episodes. And remember, if it's creepy and weird, you'll find it here.
Hey everybody, I'm Amber.
And I'm Maddie.
And we're Witches Talking Tarot. And this season we've got for you ghosts, cryptids, conspiracies. Oh my.
Check out what role we cast Emma Robertson on our myth episode this season.
Yes. And in addition to our myths, we will be bringing you the holidays, because we may or may not have missed one this last season. I guess you'll have to listen to the last episodes to check it out, and then catch all our new episodes coming up every Tuesday and Thursday on your favorite podcast platforms, and see us on YouTube.
Come and sit with us for a spell.
So today I got my story from Wikipedia, timesofisrael.com, and I read a book, I listened to a book called Paper Bullets, Two Artists Who Risk Their Lives to Defy Nazis by Jeffrey H. Jackson.
Paper Bullets. I like that.
Yeah, so
that's a sexy title.
Yeah, paper bullets are what the Americans or the Allies referred to as propaganda that they would like drop down. You know, when they would like drop down, they're like, Hitler sucks, you guys you're lame, you should quit the army. They were called paper bullets.
I love that. Hitler sucks, you're lame.
That's what they said, right?
Yeah, I'm
probably.
pretty sure.
I should write propaganda.
USA slaps.
All right, so Lucy Renee Mathilda Schwob was born October 25th, 1894 in Nantes, France, into a well-off literary Jewish family. She had two famous uncles, an avant-garde writer, Marcel Schwob, and an Orientalist, David Leon Cahun, was her great uncle. When Lucy was 4, her mother, Marie Antoinette, began suffering from mental illness.
You mean Marie Antoinette, the famous Let Them Eat Cake?
Yes, that one. That's
wow, for real.
She began suffering from mental illness, which ultimately led to her mother's permanent living in an institution. But not before her mom got a couple good years of trauma in, for really abusing her. And,
wow.
Yeah. In her mother's absence, Lucy was brought up by her grandmother, Mathilda. She was sent to a private school in Surrey, England, after being beat up and called a bunch of anti-Semitic names in high school. It wasn't a great time. She was growing up between World War I and World War II. In the area, there was a lot of course, anti-Semitism and problems. She didn't practice Judaism. Her father was Jewish.
Okay.
He married a Catholic woman. He didn't practice Judaism. But, in that time, like, it really didn't matter whether you were, like, Jewish or not. Like, if you had Jewish blood, like, they looked at you that way. When she was 18, she attended the University of Paris. And around 1914, she would begin playing around with male pseudonyms, and ultimately she would settle on Claude Cahun.
She was going by a male name?
Yeah, we're going to talk about...
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about their gender in a little bit, but Claude is a unisex name in France.
Oh.
And Cahun is the French version of Cohen, which translates to priest in Hebrew. Priest.
Okay.
She used that surname to feel closer to her grandmother, who helped raise her, and to one of her cousins who had died in the trenches during World War I.
Oh.
Now, let me tell you about Suzanne Malherbe. Suzanne was also born in Nantes, France, in July 1892. There isn't as much known about her early childhood, but she studied at the Fine Arts Academy in Nantes. And in her early 20s, she worked as a graphic designer, and she produced ornate illustrations influenced by Japanese art, which was a trend at the time, and also the Paris fashion scene of the 1910s.
So these are two separate people.
Yes.
Okay.
Her fashion...
And they both went to the same school?
Well, they both grew up in the same town.
Okay.
Lucy, went off to school in England, and then she came back, and so they had sort of different childhoods, but they grew up in the same town.
Okay.
Suzanne's modern fashion designs were published in newspapers, and specifically the newspaper that was owned by Lucy's family. Like Lucy, Suzanne also took on a pseudonym, and she became Marcel Moore.
Why did they take on pseudonyms?
For a couple of reasons.
For the Jewishness?
No. Suzanne is not Jewish.
Oh, okay.
For a couple of reasons, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, Suzanne and Lucy's families knew each other, because they lived in this small town in France. And in
a quiet village.
Exactly. And they played together as children. The two became teenagers, and their relationship became romantic.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. This is an LGBT plus...
Beyond,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So while the term lesbian was not used during their time as widely as it is today, their relationship would be described as romantic and a sexual one.
History would know them as best friends.
That's exactly right. Sisters, actually.
Okay.
In her diaries and letters, Lucy expressed passionate feelings for Suzanne, writing about their physical intimacy and referring to Suzanne as her beloved.
Oh.
They played an essential role in each other's art, and they were each other's models and muses.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, it would not have been easy to be out and proud in those days in many places, so the couple decided to move to Paris. Paris in the 1920s was a vibrant and exciting city, known for its artistic and cultural scene. The city was home to many prominent artists and writers, including Ernest Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, Pablo Picasso, and Salvador Dali.
Can you imagine fucking hanging around with that crew?
They do.
Oh.
It's crazy. Oh. It's crazy.
Oh, to go back.
I know.
To just fucking hang one night with them.
Be there.
One night with them.
Yeah. So it's the early...
And they must have been, like, so ahead of their time.
They were.
Like, fucking...
Yes. And they're just, like, sitting around in cafes, like, smoking their tiny cigarettes.
That's right.
Like, painting and talking and
shit on their government.
Drinking wine. That's exactly what they're doing.
Being sexually free.
It's exactly what's happening.
What are your pronouns? Like, just fucking...
We're literally going to talk about that.
Wow,
yep.
I love that so much.
So, yeah, these artists are intellectuals. They often gather in cafes and salons, discussing art and literature.
Discussing, not disgusting.
Discussing art and literature and politics and creating art and just defying and challenging traditional artistic and societal norms.
Love
it's
that
fucking
so
coolest,
much.
Right?
Oh my God.
In the 1920s, Paris is also known for new artistic movements such as Surrealism and Dadaism.
What's Dadaism?
So I looked it up. I didn't know. And so if you just like Google search it and like look at images of what it is, it's like just like funky art that like they're like the first picture that comes up is like people standing in a line, and then there's like people standing on the ceiling, and it's just like pieces together and like people playing with like cameras and lenses and you know, it's just art that wasn't like painted on a canvas.
And, so now it's like a new technology coming out, photography, and so it's art
and like
with
being
photography.
weird about it, you know, like it wasn't just like photography had been around probably 100 years at this point, but it was just like people standing there.
Right.
And, like now like regular people have cameras and they're taking pictures and they're developing them in weird ways. It's cool. These movements rejected traditional art forms and embraced new mediums like photography and film. It wasn't just the artistic and cultural scene in Paris, though. At the time, it was also marked by social and political change. Women gained greater freedoms and rights, and, you know, many of them were participating in the workforce in a way they hadn't been before.
Right.
The suffrage movement was happening.
Right.
The city was also home to a thriving LGBTQ plus community, with gay bars and clubs becoming, you know, popular in places like safe havens for people to hang out in.
Right.
It wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. A lot of people were really critical, both gay men and women, accusing them of not doing their duty by having more children for France and, you know, just being homophobic in general.
Right.
Plus, the aftermath of World War I had left the city struggling economically and socially, while political tensions, you know, were really high. We had fascism starting. And communism was gaining traction in certain areas. So, like, tensions were still high.
Right.
But here, these two thrived. They chilled out with freaking Picasso. Literally, Salvador Dali. It was like they're friends with Dali. They drank coffee. They smoked cigarettes. They even did a bit of opium.
I mean,
and they just like talk shit
with that group.
Yes, yeah.
Opium was like the safest of it.
It's literally like what you would see in the movies, right? Just like setting.
Yes, it's a Rat Pack of the fucking
of the 1920s.
Yes,
they hosted artist parties at their homes with like famous, you know, writers and poets, and it was just really cool. More importantly, what they did in the city was what they loved most. They created art together. They were innovative and they were prolific, and they worked in various mediums. Lucy is best known for her self-portraits and, you know, in photography, which she explored themes of gender, identity, and fluidity of self. When you look up Lucy Schwob, she comes up they both come up under their male pseudonyms on Wikipedia.
Really?
Yes. So she comes up as Claude Cahun.
Wow. Why is that? Why were they using her pseudonym?
I think a couple different reasons.
Is it for dead naming? Like to avoid dead naming?
No, because I think, you know, they still used Lucy a lot. Okay. You know, this was of course before, you know, we did have trans people back then, but certainly the terms that we have now we didn't have. I think they really and this was not just them, but there were a lot of people at the time really like subverting gender norms. So when you look at a lot of these pictures that Cindy's going to post online, there's a lot she shaved her head. That's Lucy.
Oh, wow.
She shaved her head like in a time when, you know, that was just women were supposed to have beautiful long hair, beautiful dolled up hair. Yeah. There's other pictures of her. Do you see the one with her with short hair and like a checkered jacket?
We just don't think that these things were around for all those years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people are like, oh, you know, society's going to hell in a handbasket because we're making, you know, LGBT stuff, like, you know, we're bringing it around our kids. People forget.
Yeah. So to your point, that time in Europe, particularly Weimar Germany, I'm going to get off topic for a minute. I've talked about this before, but particularly that time between World War I and World War II, Weimar Germany and Europe in general, Paris, the big cities, London's, whatever, were hubs for queerness, queer art, queer living spaces, queer bars. The first gender-affirming surgeries happened in Weimar, Germany in the 1920s. When you see those images of book burnings, of the Nazis burning big piles of books, they're burning books from a college where they were studying gender studies. Like that, they literally put a stop to transness, trans care in the 1920s. We would be a century ahead of where we are now had they not literally like wiped it off the map.
Right.
So, like, you're right. Like, this has always been here.
Yeah.
And it was, like, fascism literally put a stop to it.
Right.
And, like, not to be on a soapbox, but, like, that's literally what they're trying to do right now.
Right.
In
yeah,
America.
absolutely.
It's so crazy.
It's almost like history repeats itself.
It's not almost like. It's 100%. It's so fucked up.
Wow.
But, you know. And so, okay, Lucy's known for her photography. She often posed in gender-bending outfits, and she used photo manipulation to make surrealism and, like, provocative images. And Cindy's going to post some of it because it's really, really cool. She also worked in collage format. She was a writer. She produced essays and poetry and fiction. You know, she really, within all of that, she challenged societal norms and the conventions of the time. Suzanne, on the other hand, was, like I said, primarily a graphic designer. She was an illustrator. She created posters and book covers and printed materials, and she was just hanging out with her, like...
I thought graphic arts was, like, a new thing, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, like...
I just, you know, I mean, it's been around
of, like,
since,
computer,
like, yeah.
She often collaborated with Lucy, using her art to promote their joint artistic and activism projects. So Suzanne's style was more characterized with, like, bold lines and bright colors, and her work is often featured, like, in fantastical imagery. So while they were in Paris, it was easier to live more openly queer, but they would have still had gotten some pushback,
right?
But not as much as they would have on the countryside. And the couple did have a convincing cover story whenever they needed one. Suzanne's widowed mother married Lucy's divorced father in 1917, so they were technically stepsisters.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But they had already, like, been together.
But, okay, so did the family, the family was okay with their sexuality?
Yeah, the family knew about their sexuality.
Oh, I just love that. Okay.
I think there was, like, a story, like, offhandedly about one of... like, somebody wanting to marry Lucy, and her father stepped in and was just like, yeah, she's not interested.
Yeah. she's
not going to happen, dude.
She's not. The dick is not for her.
Yeah. When people questioned why they lived together, they would just say that they were sisters. So Lucy and Suzanne were both assigned female at birth, but they did not just use their pseudonyms for their art. They did, right? Of course they did. And they're in the art world, they're referred to as Claude Cahun and Marcel Moore. But they were well known for adopting male fashion and presenting themselves as male artists. This was widely done in the city. It was boundary pushing at the time, but they were not the only people who were doing it. When you would go into a lesbian club at the time, everybody would be dressed in suits and ties.
Right.
All the, women.
There were no femmes.
I mean, I guess not. Or I guess, like, it was, I don't want to say it was like dress code, but I guess, like, that's what they would do.
Right.
Even Coco Chanel became extraordinarily famous at this time for her gender-bending clothing line.
Yeah.
Side note.
Uh-huh.
Coco Chanel is a Nazi collaborator.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, bitch. Yes, bitch.
Really?
We cannot go into it, but she was a Nazi collaborator. She...
Oh, like, my God.
Rubbed elbows with them. Like, even if you look it up on their website, they, like, address it because it, like, came out real big.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God. No, not Coco.
Yes, Coco.
Oh, my... I have so many of her things. I'm like, I'm going to throw out and stop using her things. I'm like, well, I can't. They're too much money.
So her website, like, the website, like, talks about, like, it was bad back then. She did what she had to do to survive, whether that's true or not true. Like,
oh my God.
She was a multi-millionaire back then.
Yeah.
She was fine. But, that is not our position of today and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So as you can imagine, if the term lesbian was not in use at the time, neither were terms like non-binary or the use of alternative pronouns. Lucy was once quoted in her writing saying of gender, masculine, feminine, neuter is the only gender that always suits me. So probably she would have used they, them pronouns, or maybe if that was an option, probably she would have been somewhere on the gender fluid or non-binary spectrum. Obviously, we can't speak for her, but she's basically
saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the couple's living it up in Paris, right? And shit starts rumbling with Hitler in Germany. So Lucy's always been... her mother was the one with the mental illness and in the mental hospitals. Lucy's always struggled with depression and just, she had a hard time getting out of her own way sometimes. So she wants to leave Paris. And Suzanne's like, so fucking cool here. Like,
right. Like, why mess with a good thing?
Yeah. But Suzanne loves her. and takes care of her always since they were children.
Right. Also, Lucy's Jewish. So, like, traveling is going to be a bit hard for you now.
Yeah. So they move. So while they're in Paris, they get involved in a Parisian communist organization. Just, like, get involved in it. Like, fighting against fascism and, you know, like...
They're wearing stripes. They have the berets.
I guess, yeah. But Lucy's not real thrilled about the way things are looking with Germany, and France hasn't been under attack yet, but it looks like Hitler's working his way across Europe. She's like, I think we should move. So she's starting to get scared, and even though she doesn't practice Judaism, she still has Jewish ancestry, and they beat feet to the Jersey Isles, which...
The Jersey Shore?
Yes, yep.
Oh my God. The Jersey Isles. That's Ocean City, Brigantine, Atlantic City.
But
Sea Isle.
Good. So they had visited the Isle of Jersey in the past and they loved it there. And they just bought a little house and pieced out to like this little beach house.
Oh my God.
And also, yeah. And like literally the picture, there's like a picture of out of their window. And it's the beach.
It's
like,
so
and they would go like nude sunbathe there and like,
oh my God.
And they're like lesbian little like oasis. And Suzanne had a little garden and she was like all sun-kissed from like being in the sun and like planting their vegetables. And they just lived in this
that sounds perfect,
peaceful, beautiful, and created their art together. And
how'd they get their groceries?
I guess there was like a little village, you know? They probably rode their bikes with their basket with their fucking baguette on the top.
Oh my God.
Shut up. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like, yeah, of course.
Obviously.
And there's like a beast somewhere in a castle on the hill.
The status of the Channel Islands before the war, it was a British-controlled territory, let me say that. It's one of the crown dependents. It's defended by the British military. They use British currency, but they have their own self-governing, you know, courts and shit like that.
Like Disney.
Yeah, exactly like Disney. So the big problem with their plan to move to Jersey was that Churchill decided that the Channel Islands were not really worth, like, defending.
Oh,
He's
my
like,
God, no.
No one's going to invade the Jersey Shore.
Right.
You know?
The
like,
Jersey Shore.
Why the fuck would Hitler want to do that? Like, you know?
We are literally talking about not the Jersey Shore. Come on, you got to be clear with this. It's
the Jersey Isles.
Right.
Like where our Jersey Shore is named after this.
Right.
Yeah.
This
the
is
original, the OG.
England.
Yes. But Hitler did think this was a good place. Because Hitler decided this was going to be part of his Atlantic Wall. Hitler was going to build a wall.
Go figure.
Weird, right?
So I love that for him.
The Atlantic Wall was a system of coastal fortifications and defenses built by the Nazis along the western coast of Europe during World War II to defend against Allied invasions to come back across. The fortifications included bunkers, gun emplacements, minefields, other defensive structures, and it stretched from Spain all the way to Norway, just right along the edge.
Right.
Because, like, the one thing, right, about, like, Hitler had an army.
Right.
But England has a navy. Like, nobody really fucks with England's navy.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, for Hitler to build this defensive wall, that was kind of smart, you know? Jersey and the other Channel Islands were a part of this Atlantic Wall system. Spoiler alert. The Allies never attempt to come through that way. So Hitler really wasted his time building this whole fucking wall because Churchill thought it was stupid. And so they lost control of this whole Channel Islands to Hitler, but they never tried to come through there. Right. They came through Normandy and...
Right. It's almost like the wall that they tried to build and they went under it and...
Yeah, for no reason. They went right around it.
They were like, oh, nice wall.
As they flew over
Let's see it from the
other side. So the Channel Islands, including Jersey, would be occupied by German forces during World War II from 1940 to 1945. Like the whole fucking time. During the occupation, islanders had to deal with food shortages, restrictions on movement, and other forms of oppression. Many islanders were forced to work for the Germans, while others were sent to concentration camps. But we're sort of jumping ahead there. So the couple finds themselves in a country, part of a war they were already trying to escape. So, like, what the fuck?
They almost went, like, right into it.
Yeah, they jumped right... You know, Paris and France really got clobbered by the Germans.
Oh, okay.
Quickly. So where they went was like, yes, they were being occupied.
They bought themselves some time.
Yeah, they bought themselves some time. And they also, like, while they were occupied, they weren't really occupied in the way that, like, France was, where Poland was, where a lot of those other countries where they, like, decimated everybody. And, you know, they weren't really fucking with the English as hard because the English was, like, you know, had Russia on their side and the Allies. And so they didn't kill people in the street. Right. They, like, held trials. And the couple has two options, in my opinion. They could lay low. They could be two middle-aged sisters living in relative safety, keeping their heads down, and make it through the war. Easy. Or they could annoy the shit out of Nazis and fuck with their heads the best way they know how. Which one do you think they did?
The fucking with the heads and the...
I mean, we wouldn't be talking about them if they just laid low, right?
I mean, I want to think that they pulled a fucking Bugs Bunny act on these people.
Yeah, so let me tell you some of the shit they got up to. Just to start off, easy stuff. They would deflate Nazi bike tires, and they would turn street signs around so that, like, people who weren't from the area, they would like look at maps and they would get so confused.
Oh, I love that.
Just this basic. Yes. Everybody was doing that, right?
All the shenanigans.
Yes. While these were just annoyances to the Nazis, their first real act of rebellion was that they tore down Nazi propaganda posters and threw them in the trash. And if they got caught doing that, like, they would have been in a lot of trouble. Like, you couldn't do that kind of shit. But this is what gives them the idea that would cause some real damage to the Nazis. So they would write little messages on slips of paper, and they would, like, that said without end, and they would put it inside cigarette packs, and they would, like, leave it on the floor, and, like, people would pick them up. They wanted soldiers to pick them up.
Right.
They wanted the soldiers to know that they are the ones dying for a war that cares very little about them or their well-being, and that it is a never-ending battle. Like, they wanted to plant these seeds of doubt in the people with the guns, not the higher-ups, but the people, right?
Where it counts.
Exactly. So they bought this magazine called Signal Magazine, which was a Nazi propaganda magazine. And they brought it home and they used it. They tore out little pieces and they made, where they're good at making collages, they made these collages using their own propaganda back against them.
Okay.
And then they would put them back together, and then they would go back to the magazine stores and slip them into the magazines for the German soldiers to buy.
Yes.
So that they would see this propaganda that's like, who is doing this? Are other soldiers doing this? Why would a regular person have access to this? You know, why would a French person or an English person buy a Nazi propaganda? Suzanne speaks German. That's part of it too. Suzanne can speak German.
Yeah, that needed to be. Yeah.
They start making little messages, sticking them all over the island, hanging them, like, when no one's looking, on walls, on buildings, going up to Nazi officers and, like, dropping it in their pockets and shit.
Wow.
They were brazen. Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love that.
Yeah, everywhere. Like, little things that made it seem like... It didn't seem like it was the people of the island. It seemed like it was another soldier, because it was in German.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And also the soldiers probably like, where did this come from?
Yes,
like,
in their pocket. They emptied it. And then, of course, it's like, they're scared. They're like, fuck, they got to get rid of it, or they have to report it to their superior.
Yes, because
like,
they could get killed.
Yes, yeah. So,
and if they report it to the superior, everybody's being so freaking, like, paranoid and like,
where did you get this? Questioning them.
Exactly.
Like, it just creates this mind fuckery. Yes. You know what I mean? It's so good.
Oh my God, I want to do that now. How can we do that?
That's so good. That's the point, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's these are just two regular people.
Right.
Yes, they had art, talent, and whatever, like, but they were just brave enough to fuck with them a little bit.
Right.
You know? So these messages were significant because they were written from the perspective of a German soldier. It made it seem like there were other Germans in their ranks that felt like the war was useless and they would rather be home with their families.
Right.
It is a basic human need and thought and want.
Right.
You know?
And also, like, a lot of, like, these German people, they probably
didn't feel
agree.
Like that.
Right.
Yeah.
They're just like, fuck this. You know what I mean? I don't hate my neighbor. My neighbor's fine. You know what I'm saying?
They doesn't have a choice but to fight.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Or else they'd be killed. Right.
Right. Of course, not everybody, but a lot of these, like, young people, I mean, they were, like, raised in
Right. Did you ever see Jojo Rabbit?
I never saw Jojo Rabbit.
Bro, you have to see every time.
Like 100 times, and then I never watched it.
It is so fucking good, and it proves this point.
Yeah.
It proves this very point.
So, they initially didn't sign the messages with any name. They would just make the message, put them out there. Then they decided to start signing it, the soldier with no name.
Oh.
Okay. So they wanted to appeal to the humanity in the regular soldier that was dying for the few guys on top that had no problem risking everyone's life for their own personal
because they
gain.
weren't fighting.
No, never. Never.
No.
So one of the messages was this: Jesus is great. Hitler is greater. While Jesus dies for other people, Hitler gets other people to die for him. Which is so, like...
It's like such a mind fuck.
It's so good.
Yes.
Because it's like...
It plays on their freaking religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it also is like, are you saying Hitler is smarter than Jesus? Like, it's all of it. Every bit of it is fucked. So, another read, alas, I wish I could be captured. If I surrendered, I'd be shot dead by the officer. Let him come. Then, with such an officer, I will be the first to shoot. So, just like a lot of like, you know, they were trying to get these men to desert, to go home, to, you know, this is useless, this is stupid. Other people feeling this way. Like,
or to sabotage their own shit where they're at.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. So they had a camera, a radio, and a typewriter, which was all Nazi contraband. They would listen to the BBC on the radio, and they would use it to make their notes seem more authentic. They knew the BBC was a biased news outlet. What the fuck does that mean?
Biased? What?
But it did offer a different view of the war that the Nazi soldiers weren't getting, and neither were anybody that didn't have a hidden radio. So whatever they heard, they played it up in their notes. They would take 10 sheets of tissue paper at a time, or more, however much would fit in the typewriter, and they would make mass messages, and they would like put them all over Jersey for Nazis to see. They would push some of the keys harder in different places than others as they typed them out, so it made it seem like multiple different typewriters were using it. So if they tried to trace, like, oh, this E does this when it looked like there was millions of people, not millions, but you know, a big group of people setting this when it's just 2 people in a house in Jersey.
Oh wow, shit!
Fucking smart. Like no one would just suspect like 2 little old ladies and a little.
They were old at this point.
Lesbian. Well, they're not old. They're like 40, but at the time, you know, they're like in their 40s.
Yeah, they were like fucking ancient.
But nobody would think like 2 lesbians in this house are just like creating this, like whatever. So they would, at the end of the notes, they would always add fake secret codes that they hoped the Nazis would spend hours trying to decode. Like, you know, they were in their fucking house drinking their coffee, like, just like random fucking letters, like numbers and shit. Like,
I love that so much.
Because they were fucking funny.
Decoders out there, professionals. We can't crack this.
None of it made sense. Every note was different.
That's why I think the Zodiac Killer, 100%. I think it was just like all fucking...
Oh my god.
Just gibberish.
So this actually caused like a big conspiracy, like across like internationally. Like people would be like, what the fuck do these codes mean? Like, whatever.
Oh, I love that so much.
It's so funny to me. So in many of the messages, they would make fun of like the higher ranked Nazis. Like they would make fun of their names, or like they would like, I don't know how to like translate it from English.
Yeah.
You know? But they would just be like, oh, Officer so-and-so's, you know, he's got cracked feet. That's why he ran. Like just all this like stupid shit. All of this was meant to demoralize the soldiers and make them question what they were doing and why they were doing it.
Right, yeah.
If they were going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
The couple would see POWs that were forced to work for the Nazis to build parts of the wall, and they would smuggle them food and cakes and, you know, just help them because they were obviously being mistreated and malnourished. Right. They would hide people in their sheds and help them escape the island.
Oh, shit.
And that part of the book was just like, and they would just hide people. Like, it was like not even part of what they were doing, but it was stuff that was happening. They had a couple living in their house. Like, I'm making them seem like they lived in this little, like, shack. And they were, like, from well-to-do families. They got to live in Paris and never work and create art. Like, they were there, like, they had money and, you know, they had a housekeeper, and she and her husband, like, lived on the property, and they helped them a lot. But the housekeeper, I think they sort of let her, like, I think her husband helped a lot, but they didn't know about the notes. They knew that they were, like, helping people, like, get across, and they were giving food to poor people.
That's a trusting relationship.
But they didn't know a lot of what was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, how did they trust them? Like
because
that, you know?
I think they just didn't want to get anyone else in trouble.
Okay.
Really is what it boiled down to. And when we'll get into Vera, her name is Vera, but she like sticks by them through everything. Like she's a sweet, like just she's like sweet young girl that like you know, love them, I guess.
Why isn't this a movie?
I don't know, because it's so good. I think this just like story just sort of, I mean, I had never heard of this until literally on TikTok the other day.
Oh my god. Don't you just love TikTok?
I fucking do, for real. They would later find out that This was, in fact, pissing the Nazis off. But literally, they would make their propaganda, drop it and run, and never know if anybody was seeing it or what effects it was having. They just had faith that it was working.
Right.
They just did it, you know?
Right.
For 4 years, they just kept at it.
Right.
So one night, BBC plays Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and they talked about victory. And people began adapting the V for victory and the numeral 5, you know, referring to the Fifth Symphony.
Okay.
And they would graffiti it all over the place. They would mark V's on the bicycles of the Nazis. They would write it on in chalk on their vans. Wow. They would write it on walls.
Right.
They would mark it all over the place. And then they would, like, put their 2 fingers up for victory.
Right.
In defiance of the Nazis. The way I Googled so fast is that where we got the peace sign from. But it's not. It didn't come until 1950s. But I was like, bitch, is that where the peace sign comes from?
Or like if you turn it around and you go like that, and like in, you know, if you turn the V sign, the peace sign around, and you like go up
Shove
with it,
jam it up in the air.
Yeah, it's like British. It's bad. It's like sticking your finger up.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
British people do it. Yeah, it's like get fucked. Or, you know.
I know, like this one.
Dana's making gestures that you don't see.
So anyway, this goes on with Lucy and Suzanne for 4 years, and then D-Day happens, right? June 6, 1944. The Germans are scrambling, and the ones on Jersey are really starting to crack down because they want to know who's the unknown soldier, and like the soldier with no name, they want to know who it is. They make everyone turn in their radios, if they still have radios. They start doing searches of homes and buses. Like they'll stop whole buses of people, make them get off and like check all their shit.
Right.
And they can't find it. They can't figure out who this no-named soldier is or whatever. So then 6 days after D-Day, Lucy and Suzanne are on the bus and it is stopped. And everyone is searched. Yeah. But this has happened to them before, but while they're everybody's being questioned and, you know, it's very scary. So the soldiers had got distracted and they had to do something. So everybody was allowed to get back on the bus. And they felt like this was like a really close call. Like they were like, fuck, that was scary. And they were right, because hours later, Nazis knocked on their door, and 5 of them came in to search their home.
Oh, no.
So Lucy and...
I'm like literally creating knots in my microphone.
So Lucy and Suzanne remain calm, fucking calm as cucumbers, these 2 bitches. As the Nazis search their house and find everything. They find the typewriter, they find the notes, they find... hat boxes full of shit, like everything.
Oh, shit.
So when they were asked, like... do you know what we found? Suzanne says, of course I know what you found. I'm not an idiot. And they asked Lucy, like, what do you think is going to happen to you? And she said, I don't know. You'll probably torture us and shoot us. And the Nazis are shocked by this. Nazis shoot you? Like, that's just BBC. We're nice guys. Why are you saying this? That's just BBC propaganda. So, of course, they're arrested. And they're taken in for questioning. So the Nazis wanted names. They want to know who they're working with. Obviously, these 2 old ladies, like quote unquote,
they couldn't have possibly.
They could not have produced and distributed all of this propaganda. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Never doubt white people with time and money on their hands. The fuck else they got to do? The fuck? But they wanted names. But it was just them. There's no names. But they made it look like there was a group of people, like to throw them off. They were so smart. So while they definitely were working alone, there were certainly other people on Jersey that were doing similar things. Okay. They were not a part of
Oh, really?
They just weren't. Jersey was considered to have one of the most anti-war propaganda in all of Europe.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Just like, okay, Jersey.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's what happens when you get enough vitamin D.
That's right.
And when you get some freaking ocean time.
That's right. They had about 300 messages that the 2 had made. And when they asked them if this was all that there was, Lucy laughed in their face because not that they had ever been counting how much propaganda that they made, but they estimated that maybe they had 1/10 of how much they had made.
Oh, shit.
And the Nazis were like, how? No. Like, how is that possible?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, what the fuck else do they have to do?
Right.
Literally, they have nothing to do but create art, and this is like fun for them, you know? So after hours of questioning, the 2 were put in different cells. There's written account that Lucy had been beaten bloody and put in her cell. So,
where was Lucy's family, like, in all of this?
I think now we're into the 40s, like, probably they're not still alive.
I mean, people didn't live that far.
Yeah. You know, they were born in the 1880s and 1890s.
Right.
Like, so.
Yeah. So they're older.
But there's no record as far as I know, like what happened to their parents.
I'm just saying, like, nobody came out and like, you know, this is my family.
No,
like,
I don't know.
If they were connected and rich like that.
No.
Okay.
And also now they're in England.
Right.
These are French citizens, which does sort of play a role in it. But France is being occupied by Germany. So it's like any power that any French citizens were going to have aren't really going to have any pull, you know what I mean? So after hours of questioning, they're separated and put into 2 different cells. During the night, guards find Lucy unconscious and take her to the hospital. Several hours later, Suzanne collapsed, and she is also taken to the same hospital. Mm-hmm. The couple had taken Gardinol on the way to being questioned to kill themselves in their last act of defiance against the Nazis. Spoiler alert, they survive.
Oh, okay. I was like, stop this. Okay.
So their housekeeper, Vera, it takes them about a week or so to survive. Okay. You know, they get put back in jail. And Vera, she brings them food, and they get these like Red Cross packages that they're allowed to like eat in jail, but it's not enough to like really. And so she brings them food, and she brings them news of what's happening outside, you know, when she could. Right. Her and her husband stay in the house and help people when they could to like help them cross and hide in the shed and whatever. But Nazis stole all of their stuff. Oh. They took everything from the art, furniture, valuables. Like, they took everything. And what they didn't take, their neighbors came and stole.
Oh, great. Thanks, neighbors.
So while the couple was not able to be together in the same cell, they were able to pass notes to each other, like, in a little crack in the wall, on, like, little bits of paper, on, like, sanitary napkins, on, like, anything they could get their hands on.
They were given sanitary napkins.
Well, they, like, sort of make friends with some of the guards. So, you know, she, like, has to be like, I need sanitary napkins. And they're like, I don't even know if they actually needed them. Like, maybe they were old enough to not need them, but they wanted them to have stuff to write on. So they would, like, put it on a little string and, like, pass it through this crack between the wall. Because they were in solitary confinement, the 2 of them.
Oh, shit.
And it's weird because the prison was overfilled with other prisoners. Right. Where there would be, like, 3 and 4 people in a room. And those 2 were in their own cells, like, in solitary confinement, like, kept away from each other. Wow. Like, I think for, like, to be mean on purpose. You know? So they never backed down. They always stood up to the Nazis, and they told them exactly what they thought of them. During one interrogation, they were asked about a poem that they had written. It was about German men going away to war and German women getting pregnant while they were away. And they were mad because they were like, this is meant to embarrass German men and women. And Lucy and Suzanne were like, no, it's meant to point out that this is what Hitler wants from his citizens, to create as many Aryan people by all means necessary. And they pointed out that those women, if they did get pregnant, not by their husbands, that they were just following Hitler's order. Yeah, right. And you know, their whole point was to, like, point out the hypocrisy of what was happening.
I love that.
They were asked how they even thought to do this and, like, how they thought they would get away with it. Right. And their response was, there is propaganda in everything that we read in every paper, from advertisements to advice columns. We're told to eat more sugar, more rice, and bananas. Commercial propaganda is evil and forces people not to think. At least ours helps people try to think for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it was like they were spoon-feeding their own bullshit back to them. Right. You know?
Exactly.
They asked the Nazis, if the roles had been reversed and it was German women doing the same thing, how would they feel? And there's no, you know, there's no answer to that. Like, they would feel proud of them for sticking up for their country, like, obviously. So they were in jail for over 6 months before they went to trial. They did not defend themselves or plead for their lives. In the book, I suggest you listen to the book. I thought it was pretty good. They go into a lot more detail of, like, how, like, mouthy they were back and forth.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Because they were appointed a defendant, or defender. What is it?
A defense attorney?
A defense attorney, yeah. Public defense. Yes, sort of. But, like, of course, it was a Nazi soldier who does not want to defend them.
Exactly.
And he's, like, being like, oh, they were just... brainwashed by the BBC and their propaganda. And Suzanne was like, no, we weren't. You are embarrassing because we're fucking smart. And we did this of our own accord. We thought about this for 4 years.
Wow.
Everything that we did, we thought about it and methodically did it. We're not brain dead, brainwashed by the BBC. Like, fuck you and your fucking argument. Like, they were so pissed about that.
Shit.
They're sentenced to 6 years forced labor and 9 months in jail for the possession of 2 guns and a camera. 10 years hard labor for the illegal radio with intent to use it against the Reich. All their possessions will be confiscated. And,
the Reich.
Yeah.
Sounds like the Reich.
And Suzanne withheld making the comment, are you saying that our punishment is to lose all of our possessions because you already stole all of them? Which, like, she wanted to be like, is that retroactive? But she's like, maybe I won't antagonize them as they're handing down our sentence. And for the distribution of propaganda meant to demoralize Nazi soldiers, they were sentenced to death. So the judge says, or whoever was handing down the sentence, I guess it was some sort of judge, he says that they are guerrilla fighters, but they were worse because with guns, they can see the damage. But with spiritual warfare, one does not know how far-reaching the damage can be.
Right.
Which is so profound, in my opinion.
Yes.
The
pen is mightier than the sword.
So true. And that little, like, snippet, they felt so vindicated for the work that they did. They're like, thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Love that so much.
So the people on the island did not think that executing women, and I'll use that term loosely, was a good idea for the Nazis. No woman had been executed on Jersey since the 18th century witch trials. Oh. So the Nazis are like, you gotta beg for clemency, which they vehemently refused to do.
Wow.
They said that was as good as collaborating, given the Germans opportunity to look more merciful than they were.
Shit.
It would go back on 4 years of work, suggesting that they disagreed with the verdict of them being guilty, which they did not. So then Hitler fucking kills himself.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So they okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So things are not looking too good for the Germans. Right? D-Day happens, all this shit. Hitler
I forgot that this was on
the
cusp of that.
Yes, it's winding down, So they think they better commute the death sentence to 10 years of hard labor. Mm-hmm. Which, Lucy and Suzanne are like, y'all are about to lose the war anyway. Like, we'll never have to serve 10 years. Like, who cares? But when this happens, they ask if they can be put in the same cell because all this time they have been in solitary confinement. The only time they see each other is in court or, like, when they're being questioned.
Right.
And they, like, pass each other in the hall or whatever.
Right.
And they had been in prison for, like, 8 months or something. They had made friends with the guards, and eventually they did let them stay together. That was until they caught them boinking.
Oh, no, not the boinking.
The guard said, they do so like a man and a woman do.
I don't know that I scissor my man.
Oh,
love that.
Anyway. The war was all but over, and at this point, the jail starts releasing its political prisoners. All but Lucy and Suzanne.
What the fuck?
And they believe that they're waiting to shoot them. Like, they think, like, they're gonna kill us in the end because, we fucked with them so bad. Blah, blah, blah. Some people believe that the Nazis didn't want to let them out because they were embarrassed by all the stuff they stole from them. I mean, they fucking took everything from their house.
Oh,
Not only them, but their neighbors. And so the day the Nazis turn over, they eventually surrender. That same day, like, it was a lot of chaos of, like, whose orders are we listening to? Because there were some orders, and you'll see this in, like, any Nazi movie, like, people are like, oh, we're surrendering, but we're going to get caught with these concentration camps, kill everybody, burn everything. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, we didn't want to kill any of these people in the first place, so we're just letting them go, but they're starving to death, whatever. So there was a lot of confusion that last day of, like, what do we do with these people? It was just Lucy and Suzanne. And they had made sort of friends with them. Like, they had been there for 8 months. There was this weird level of respect for Lucy and Suzanne because they were so fucking smart.
Because they made fucking sense.
And they made sense. And they did make that. Their goal was accomplished, right? They made them look at themselves and be like, what the fuck are we doing?
And question what they were fighting for.
Yeah. There's all these stories within the jail about, they killed, they had to like shoot and kill, dissenters that, left or whatever. And these were like young guys. They were like 23 years old, 25 years old. And they didn't want to kill these young kids. No. The war was ending. So it was like, what the fuck is the point? And they had to because it was their orders. I mean, I don't know. That's so convoluted. And like, there's so much there that's like hard to say what's right and what's wrong, right? I mean, obviously it's wrong, but it's like, I don't know. Anyway, they release them in the end. Suzanne and Lucy are released.
Okay.
And when they get back home, their house is in shambles. Well, they were thrilled that the war was over. Lucy would write that there was a loss of camaraderie that was gone after the war ended, and everyone went back to just being selfish. And Lucy just couldn't stay in the house with like all their things like just gone, their house destroyed. So she went to stay in a hotel, and Suzanne went around and found like all of their stolen shit. It was like in hotels, in people's houses. She like went around and was like, give me my shit back.
Oh my God.
Bitch.
Yes.
She puts her house back together for Lucy, and Lucy comes home. After the war, they continued to create art and literature. Suzanne and Lucy lived together and took care of each other until Lucy's death on December 8th, 1954, at the age of 60, due to a pulmonary embolism. Uh-huh. Suzanne would sell the house that they lived in together, but she remained on the island for the rest of her life. In 1972, she had a lot of pain from an appendicitis. She was like, getting sick, and she just took a correct dose this time of barbiturates and ended her life in her sleep. Suzanne is often overshadowed by Lucy's work and fame, and that may be because after Lucy died, Suzanne spent a lot of her time sending Lucy's art and work out to their famous friends and stuff. God. So like,
I want somebody to love me like Suzanne loves Lucy.
So they both played a critical role in their artistic collaboration. They were significant figures in the history of the feminist art and queer theory. They were buried together and they share one headstone. They created a significant body of work that challenged gender and societal norms and promoted resistance against fascism and oppression. Their art continues to inspire and resonate with contemporary audiences, and they're recognized as important figures in history of queer art and activism, mostly under their pseudonyms.
Right.
Claude Cahun and Marcel Moore. But in the last 15 years, their artistic personalities have become more well-known in the art world, and there have been exhibitions to help preserve their legacy, and many of their papers are digitized by their trust.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. Insert clapping and standing ovation here.
You got it.
I love it.
I thought that was such a fun, cool story.
It was. Oh my God, I really love that so much.
Yeah.
I thought like they were going to get killed,
No, they were really like in the book. The book was an easy, I listened to it on Audible, but like a super easy listen, and like genuinely the judges and the Nazis or whoever they were talking to would question them, and they would straight up tell them like, no, you're wrong. And, like, this is why.
Right.
And just like, it just reminds you of like it's scary, but like you should do it. You should stand up to them if you can. If you have they had the ability to do that. Right.
Like Martin Luther King said, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. I think that was him. I don't know.
I don't know if that was him either, but
it could have been Malcolm X. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been anybody, I guess.
Yeah. Cindy's she's on that.
Cindy will take care of it for us.
Oh my God, I love that story so much. I have grown over the years that we've been doing this podcast. Uh-huh. I have grown to love your historical stories.
I try to pick the good ones that I know you're going to like. So.
You'd be surprised who actually said it.
What?
Those who stand for nothing fall for anything. Alexander Hamilton.
Oh, shit. Look at that. I was wrong.
By like a couple centuries.
By a lot. Yes. I love that. Anywho, that's it for us. I mean, Dana, I am loving your historical stories.
I'm so glad.
I really am.
I have some other ones to tell you. I
have grown to appreciate it and look for it.
Yeah.
I have, if you've noticed the progression of this podcast, I have kind of like come away from the gruesome.
This year feels. Is it your medication? You think? Maybe.
I think, bro. I think. I mean.
We have not heard a cannibalism story in a long time.
Quite a while.
And last week was gruesome, but not in a way that felt like I was like, I'm going to have to take half of this out.
Yes. Yeah. I just medicated the scary away.
I love that for us. It feels so good.
Anyway, I feel like if I stop taking my medication, it's all going to come rushing out.
All hell's going to break loose. Like, death, doom, destruction.
Yes. It's like opening Pandora's box. It's all going to come out at once. So anyway, that's it for us. And hopefully we'll see you next week. But in the meantime, subscribe so you don't miss out. We have merch, Patreon, buy me a coffee. But the best thing that you can do is write a review and tell us how great we are. I mean, I challenge you. Or share with somebody else. Tell them how great we are.
That's right.
And how they should listen, and how every time you tune in, you learn something new. Either way, you can connect with us on Facebook, the Instagram, the
Twitter,
socials.
TikTok.
Yeah, we're out there. Check you out next week. And remember, do not get taken to that second location. Be good, or be good at hiding the body. Cheers.
Cheers. Are you okay? This is crazy.
Fucking loud.
You're disgusting, and I hate you both.